So today I'm going to talk to you about the DevOps approach to Power Platform documentation, and I'm going to introduce you to a solution that I've built that will allow you to do that. So what's the problem we're looking at? We've got a solution that we've worked really hard on, and we keep iterating this solution, we keep building this solution, we keep pushing it out into DevOps, and it gets updated. But we need certainty that that thing is being documented correctly, because we've got downstream teams that need to look at it or report on it, or maybe we're an enterprise architect and we need to know that what we've ordered, we've ordered a chicken and we need to make sure we haven't got steak, and it's if you don't have immediate access to that environment, it's not something you can necessarily do. So how do we solve this problem? Well, I've built an extension, but before I go into that, let's tell you about me. So my name's Ian Tweedie. I'm a senior technical consultant at Capgemeni. I also do some professional coaching. My professional background is 18 years in the tech industry. I started off in tech support roles, even worked on telephone servers, Nastrix servers, which were great fun. I've gone through all the years of users shouting at me and things like that. But I found myself moving on to Power Platform. I've got 16 or so certifications in Microsoft. Community-wise, I've written 16 community tools, of which this is one of them I'm going to show you today. Get around 500,000 hits a month across my community tools, which is quite nice. So that's people like calling them or using them in Power Automate flows. Trustee for Prosper Learning Trust. I run a blog, my tour, Power Platform Clinic, my mentoring hub. Oh, anybody based in the Newcastle area, in the UK, we've got our next user group, 27th November. Come along, Power Platform user group. So yeah, that's kind of about me and what I do. But let's get back to this tool. So prerequisites. We're assuming at this point that you have exported your solution and it is sat in DevOps. If you've not done that before, or if that's a new concept for you, or you're thinking, oh, well, I know another way of doing it, but I've not done that, scan that QR code, watch that video. There is a step-by-step deep dive on how to very simply pick your solution up, take it from Dataverse, and drop it into DevOps. So I'm going to quickly show you what that looks like. So when you do that, you get your repository, you've got your solution, and of course, if you follow my guide, you'll get an SRC folder, and in it, you've got your unpacked solutions. You've got your entities or tables, as they're known as now. You've got your roles. You've got things like option sets or choices, as they're known as. You'll see a lot of the old terms kicking around in these, but you can unpack. Now, what you have in there is you've just got a lot of JSON and lots of XML, which I can read it and I know what's changed, but that doesn't necessarily make sense to normal people. Maybe I'm not normal, but that doesn't make sense to everybody else. So how do we get across that boundary? Well, so as I said earlier, I've written a free open source tool. It's built for the community. Anyone can use it. Anyone can download it today. So how do you get it? So you go to the Visual Studio Marketplace and you just download it, and it'll install it into your DevOps environment. Now, if you're not the admin of your DevOps environment, it'll just go as pending for someone else to do it. But they can come along, they can check it out, they can see it's got all the relevant badges, it's got all the relevant checks. And to install it, it's as difficult as pressing a button and making a cup of tea. So once you've got that into your environment, we can do quite a few things with it. We've got choice that it can document out our choices, our security roles, our solution manifest, which came from a request someone gave me. Tables, table relationships, table ER diagrams, workflows. It can almost do. That's a preview feature. It's working, then not working. So yeah, we're not going to look at that. But it's a preview. You can play with it if you want. If it works for you, fantastic. If you can work out why it's not working, I'd really appreciate your feedback. We've also got a diagrams converter. That's cool. We've also got a Word docx converter. So we're going to look at 3 of these today because we only have about 10-12 minutes. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our YAML pipeline and we're going to add some variables to it. Now that sounds really scary, but I promise you it's not. We can go through this step by step. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some variables. We're then going to add a task. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So we come and edit our pipeline, and you can copy and paste these from my blog post or from this presentation, because this presentation will be available afterwards. And we just drop them straight into our pipeline. Now we're going to use those variables later on. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create some space further on, and we're just going to type here, we can put documentation, because we might as well document our pipeline. If we're doing a documentation pipeline, that would be cool. And then we're going to come over to this side of the screen, and we're going to search for one of these tools. Now, the one we're going to look for is the table relationship documentation, because we just want to map out the table relationships, and this is the one I get the most hits on, and the one that people ask for the most. And we need to pop two variables in here. So we're going to pop in our wiki location, so where we're going to generate those Markdown files. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to pop in this where our unpacked solution folder is. So they're the two variables we set at the top, and we're just creating them further on. The other thing we can do on there is we can filter by author, because it can get pretty messy, certainly with all the out-of-the-box entities. But we haven't done that today because the solution we're exporting is quite small. So what does that look like? Now, there's a time machine involved here. You'll see this pipeline works incredibly quickly, but those of you who've run pipelines before know that you can make a full cup of coffee or even make it to Starbucks in the time that some of these things take to run. So what the pipeline's done is it's brought the solution out, and then we've worked out what's inside that solution and generated some documentation on the back of it. So let's see what it looks like. Well, when we come into it, we've got some Markdown. Now, this Markdown doesn't look very pretty, but hang on a minute. If we go into preview, we've got all these lovely mermaid diagrams. We can see clearly how one thing links to another. Now, this one is just looking at the relationships and documenting out the relationships. Now, you can see the ER diagram for the whole thing is looking pretty messy. So that's why we have the individual per table ER diagrams. But obviously, you can see there, you may, why you want to pull out particular authors. Now, you see, I didn't really put an author in there. I just used an out-of-the-box one. Now, hang on a minute. That's cool, but we want to get all the way to Word. Like, my client doesn't read Markdown. If I chuck a Markdown document on my client, they're just going to look at me and wave their arms. So we're going to add two more variables. Now, these variables are wiki output and Word. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to turn our current output into something more digestible, and then it's going to turn that output into a Word document. So let's see what we have to do to make that happen. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add two more steps. Now, we can copy and paste these steps, or we can use the search way of doing it. I'm going to copy and paste them in, but you can see here we've got convert inline diagrams. That's going to convert that mermaid code into actual pictures. We're going to then convert that into a Word document. So let's see if that works. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're also going to convert it into our own Word document templates, because our client wants things done in their branding, not just some generic branding. And we wouldn't want to rebrand documents constantly. That wouldn't be very efficient. We wouldn't save any time there. So we've got this convert diagram step, and you can see it takes the import of our wiki location, so where we've just output our wiki to, and it's going to output it to another location. So we've kind of got a with pictures, so without pictures and then with pictures. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this step called convert to docx, and I'm just going to copy and paste it because I want it to run twice. The reason I want it to run twice is because I'm going to have an out-of-the-box one, and then going to have one where I've branded it. So to do that, I'm just going to change the output location slightly, and I'm just going to put in a folder called with template. The other thing we do is this Cody view, YAML view, you can click on the settings button and you can get the kind of low code view. Now, we have a Word document that we're going to upload to our repository, and we're going to call it tech Tweedie Word template.docx. So let's upload that now. Grab our Word template, and we're just going to commit that to our repository. So everything's just hanging around in this repository, nice and simple. Now we're going to run this pipeline. I'm going to see this time machine work again. And what it's going to do is it's going to extract that solution from our source environment. It's going to unpack it. It's going to convert all the inline diagrams. Look, 4 minutes, 24 seconds. That was a really quick 4 minutes. Then it's going to convert it across into Word. So let's see what that looked like. So let's click on our wiki output. Now, our wiki output, we can see here we've got some diagrams and we've got some nice pretty PNG files. Now, we can use them later. I've got another tool that will use them. But if we come into this Word output, we can see we've got this table relationships docx. Let's download it and have a look, see what's inside. And what we have there is we've got our Word document, and it's put it out. Now, it needs some topping and tailing. It needs some tarting up, but we've got our output there. Now, let's see what it looks like with template. So we can take that, we can edit it, we can jazz it up, and then we can put it back into our repository. So we'll use that as a template. And look, I could put some branding on the top. I've changed the color of H1s. I should have really put it in landscape as well when I saved the template, but let's do that now. We can edit it, or we could add something to it if we wanted to, but ideally we want to try and put as much into that template as possible, so we don't have to. We can just print this off each time and get it going. And we can see there, we've got an output of our environment. Now, this is just one of them. I've got this for umpteen other particular parts of the solution, but obviously we can't demonstrate them all today. So what have we accomplished? We have exported our solution, we've converted it into Markdown documents, and then we've turned those Markdown documents into Word documents so we can ship them to our client. Now, why would we want to do this? Knowledge transfer. We can enhance the maintenance and we can make troubleshooting a bit easier. We've got that increased collaboration alignment. Someone might be working on one Power Platform solution. We might be working on a different one in different environments, and they need to do some talking, or we've got some integration to do with some people who don't use Power Platform. Governance and compliance. So times when clients want to know, I want to know exactly what's in there. Where can you download this? You go to mytora.io, which is where I put all my tools, all my open source stuff. It's all free. You can get it off there. You'll also find another tool on there which takes Markdown documents that have been output and put them into a DevOps wiki, which I can't demo today, but that's what we'd use that Markdown for, that kind of output folder for, which means you can share it with everyone. And there's that website where you can do that. So there's my mytora.io, and you can see I've got pipeline tools there, Power Platform templates and connectors and various other things on there. Finally, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. If you've got any feedback, or if you've got any comments, or you want to send me any information now, that really helps me drive forwards and move and carry on with my journey. So please scan that QR code, click on the link. I think David's going to pop it in the chat for me. And that really helps me. So please, please, please do that. If you fill that out, it will take you to a page where you can look at the presentation right now, and you can copy and you can implement this today if you wanted to, if you've got that kind of playground. But thank you very much for listening.